Water still got to pass the mines of Moria, you know. The Shire is still there. I feel like now I finally found the trailhead.
You know, eventually she gets back to me, and then I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, let's make some plans, you know, maybe this day or whatever, and then freaking like 400 days later, she's like, yeah, that could work.
Good evening, my name is Wilson. Welcome to Jared to Jared. On this week's episode, the Jareds will discuss facing the storm, finding the trailhead, therapy session, Neanderthals, being rejected by Gale from Taos, finding peace, and much, much more. Let's get started.
Yeah, there's like a Tibetan teacher who says, he's like, listen, like, don't do it. Just don't start. He's like, just don't even bother. This shit's fucking dumb. He's like, if you want to do it, you got to get to you need to like kind of go all the way through. He's like, if you're not going to go all the way through, just don't even do it. Cause it's just like,
right. It's not
it's
fun.
just like uncomfortable, bro. It's like not fun, you know?
That's kind of my theory on college. Just like if you doing totally. Something you love or whatever, it's hard, it's long, it's expensive. Just don't even bother. Like go get seniority somewhere or something, you know, instead. I guess where I was coming from is when you do go through a bog multiple times, you know, I'm thinking of like the never ending story. That causes PTSD though, you know, regardless of getting through the bog, you still kind of like having nightmares about having to slog through a bog, you know what I mean? So that being said, I do agree with you though. I think just like we were talking about with the buffalo, where me and you talking about facing, I was
going to bring that up,
you know. And
it's the buffalo storm.
Buffalo are the only mammals are known to face the storm. Right. So the snow comes in, it's blowing hard. All the other animals run away from the storm with the storm.
Yeah.
But the buffalo are the first animals out of the storm because that's how you get out of the storm faster. That's where the sunshine is, you know, against the wind. So it's something to say. It's a parable for our own lives, you know. It's a parable for the silent retreat. It's a parable for me being a Benedicto monk right now, you know, going to the gym and being sober and you know, facing the storm. Right now it honestly sucks. It's not that fun, you know. No. I'm feeling better and like, you know, seeing things more clearly, but honestly it sucks. You know, sometimes you just want to like say fuck it and get some beers and some beef jerky and, you know, not worry about it. But that's just the thing. You got to worry about it in order to find the sunshine again. Because if you keep running with the storm, you're gonna stay in it longer. So
exactly, bro. Yeah, another way I heard this put is that it's like life is inevitably hard, right? But there's two ways it can be hard. You can either do it the hard way where you're hanging out, having the beers and beef jerky, not taking care of yourself, whatever, which is more like pleasurable in the moment, but then you're going to have the repercussions of that. You know, you're going to suffer the consequences of that, whatever it is, you know. Or you can make life in the more proactive way, hard in the more proactive way, where it's like you face the storm, you're going to the gym, you're working out, you're getting healthy, you're going to therapy, you're whatever the process is, you know, starting a business for some people, you know, whatever it happens to be, you know, you're like, it's hard work, but which hard do you want? The hard where you're running away or the hard where you're, you know, going through the storm, facing the storm?
Right. And it's almost like working smarter instead of harder too, you know, bringing up cliches here and parables, but you know, I don't know, it doesn't make sense in the moment, but let me tell you what does make sense is, you know, being overweight and, you know, dating unhealthily on Tinder or whatever the hell, and, you know, drinking casually too much, microbrewery millennial, like all that shit catches up to you, man. That's we know is proven that that's not, you know, conducive for or exiting the storm by any means. If anything, it causes more storm clouds, you know.
Right. So how are you facing the storm? What's your Buffalo storm practice? Bro, we should become like YouTube like health gurus and call ourselves the Buffalo Storm.
We should. Just essentially what we've been talking about is just eating cleaner, treating my body better, more respectful, really like 100% sobriety and hitting the gym and when I do get anxious or depressed about, things that happen with the baby mama or whatever, throughout the years or other girls or whatever the case, instead of beef jerky and beer, it doesn't matter. And I'll take a nap and go to sleep early. It's like, fuck, I'm just going to sit with this,
Yeah.
face it and fucking throw on TV, whatever, and then boom, you get through it, and you feel better. And it's about facing that storm. I think it's like one more step closer to the sunshine, even though you can't see it yet. It's one more step closer, even with the retreats, every 7 days is 7 more steps closer to where you want to be, to never having to do that again or whatever.
Dude, that's exactly it. And it's interesting because it's, in my experience in my whole life, there's always been this sense of like it's right, just keep going, don't stop. The sun shines right over there. The end of the bog is like there. Which on one hand, that could be its own kind of trap, because that's the thing that's like, oh, just keep going, you'll get there. And it's been like freaking 25 years, and it's like, bro, this is, why am I putting myself through whatever it is,
Yeah.
But that can also be, I think, having that intrinsic motivation of just like, gotta keep going, and having faith that there is like a healthier, more enjoyable lifestyle, right over that hill, and then, but that's the thing, you see it and you can tell it's right over the hill. It's like, and it's there. It's like you can see sunshine like reflecting off the hill, something like that. But then when you like look out into the distance and you see a mountain and you're like, oh dude, that mountain's probably like maybe 10 miles away, and then maybe you look at a map or something and it's like, oh shit, no, that mountain's like 150 miles away.
Right.
Like but it's like an optical illusion that just looks closer or something. Like it's that kind of thing. Like, oh, that sunshine on the other side of the hill, it's right there. Nope, it's actually like you got to go through like the stormy bog. You have to go through the Buffalo storm.
It's not a hill, it's a mountain. Yeah, for sure. And again, I like going to Einstein here. The definition of insanity, 35 years have made some really good decisions built off of that, but on the other hand, have been doing the same thing for years, just like, and has not really brought me anywhere where I want to go in terms of like intimate relationships or, financially, even whatever the case, like, if I keep doing the same thing over and over again, shit, man, in 35 more years, I'm going to be in the exact same place, if not worse, So like right now, even though, like you say, I can see it, it's far, still got to pass the mines of Moria,
Dude,
but,
exactly.
in any event though, there, the Shire is still there, and it's like a piece of home, and it's gonna suck, and it's gonna be hard, and sometimes you feel like you're gonna be lost, whatever. But I feel like now I finally found the trailhead.
Good. All right. So, what does your happy hillside, your Shire, look like? You brought the ring to Mordor. You can finally go, just hang out and sit down, write your book. What does that look like? What's this place? What's on the other side of the Buffalo storm?
I really like that you bring this up, actually. Because listen, man, me and you got to talk more about results, right? We believe in these things so much. Like, I'm not going to jump into relationships. I believe in the monastery, the abbey, Numeri Patros Spiritu Shanti. Uh, but and you know, it's like what's the good things? You know, you've been at the monastery, you believe in this stuff, the temple. You know, it's like what
Very
are the
true.
good things? Where have we gone? So part of that green hill, and one thing that I've already been experiencing is just clarity of my life, like spiritual clarity. Like
Mm,
I'm realizing like this semester I work like 3 days a week. Every other week I do the Senate meeting and like a few other things, but like 3 days a week, man, you know. I
mhm.
picked up a couple extra accounts. Me and Dolly have a great relationship. So like, you know, good dad, like starting to be happy with the like always have said nostalgia for the moment, but never really abided or lived by it deep down
Yeah.
inside, you know. Genuinely now feeling like happiness of my life, a peace, you know, a
Yeah.
peace that I've been searching for. I don't know how to explain it more than that. The peace,
Mm,
right? Also, on which don't have yet, is I would like to, you know, move on and heal from a lot of wounds from the past
mhm.
and really get into a healthy relationship with somebody I'm really into, like in love with, you know, that would be cool too. And freaking that's on the green side, you know, that whole family dynamic again. And of
Yeah.
course, you know, traveling and being more financially stable, you know. I
Mm.
think that's a big trifecta key there that would build my shire, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, and I feel like it's so important to like actually have like, oh man, what do they call them? I don't know, and like workshops when people are talking about goal setting and like professional settings and stuff like that. Deliverables, yeah. Having like actual like concrete realistic deliverables, right? Because I can sit here
Yes.
and be like, oh man, I just really want to be like quarterback of the New England Patriots, and I'm going to be so sad if I'm not. It's like, it's like, okay, totally unrealistic. There's no timeline. Like I'm 32. It's just like that makes no sense, right? So then you're going to like spend your life like torturing yourself with this like false ideal of what you think you're supposed to be. Oh man, I should have been in the NFL. And it's like,
Right,
what are
right.
you talking about? Like when did you ever like map that out? When did you ever map out a plan and a training regimen to like take concrete steps toward that, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's so important to have those like realistic concrete deliverables where it's like, okay, what am I aiming for in like 6 months from now? What am I aiming for in a year from now? What are my ultimate goals to get to? You know?
All right, man. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat. You've
Okay.
had multiple since the start, 25 episodes in, Jared to Jared.
Are we really on 25?
We're on 25, man. We're a quarter
Wow.
away to 100, cracking that damn
Nice, nice.
algorithm. What are your deliverables, man? You've had a lot of retreats now.
Mm-hmm.
You've literally been living at the temple. So if the temple does bring any sort of deliverables, you would be the man to have harbored them, right? At this point, because you're
Yeah,
fully immersed, you know. So
totally. Yeah.
and likewise, what is your shire? You know,
Yeah, yeah.
what is your grassy knoll?
Right. Okay, so first I'm going to say kind of the reflect with gratitude with kind of where I'm at, what I've the shire that I'm currently at, right? Because
Right,
I think
right.
it's also important even when you are in the middle of the bog to be like to pause for a minute and be like, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, like, I've actually come pretty far and it's like, it's pretty boggy, but like,
Right,
I've
right,
come pretty
right.
far and that's cool." And one thing that I've really appreciated is going home for the holidays. Like, I just felt more clear. I felt more connected to the people around me. And I think a lot of that is like the meditation therapy, getting over things and just, allowing, you start to let go of like, I'm hung up on like resent and anger. And then when that starts to clear out a bit more, that leaves more space. And then what comes through that space is actually just sort of appreciation and connection and like, oh man, I'm really actually excited to see my parents, see my siblings, and like all of that,
Yes, yes, yeah.
rather than, oh man, here's what I'm gonna have to like here's what I have to do for self-care while I'm visiting because visiting's such a drag, and like no, it's
Right.
actually like, oh man, I'm like excited to see everyone. Um so that was really nice and that felt like a huge, a huge Shire moment, coming back to
Yeah.
the Shire.
Yeah. Love
So
that.
that was good. Um so the Shire I'm moving toward, honestly, a huge thing for me has been a serious desire for like um deeper and more expanded social connection. I've spent like a large portion of my life, pretty solitary dude, I mean, did the academic
Right.
thing for a
Right.
while, which as you know, does require like a lot of just like time spent in libraries and reading and stuff. And
Yes. Yes.
I value that time for sure. But I also realized, in my going to therapy and stuff like that, like so much of my academic drive, artistic drive is actually a way to like isolate myself, which I mean, you definitely know we've been friends for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where I've been like, it'll be like, hey, dude, you want to hang out? And I'm like, no, I need to like finish this drawing, which on one hand is like cool, and that shows dedication and commitment
Sure. Sure.
to a creative practice, which I'm proud of. But then there's also an element of like, oh no, I'm just like feeling off and closing myself in,
Right. Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
so
I've dealt with the same. I do the
exactly,
same thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which is cool too, because it's like also to acknowledge. I mean, sometimes I do need alone time too, and just
Sure.
to like,
Sure. Absolutely.
but to
Right.
be more honest with it with myself, with the people around me. Just like, no, I
Sure.
think I actually like yeah, I'm feeling kind of off. I need some space right
Right.
now, whatever it is. Um, but I was like, met with my therapist the other day and had this really, really fantastic session where I was just like going deep into this like fear of groups, fear of groups of people, right? A lot of childhood stuff in that, but like fear of groups of people, I definitely experienced like a good amount of bullying, as a kid, and like definitely had this uh victim mindset, inferiority complex kind of thing, and just like fear of like larger groups of people. Not quite to the level of like, agoraphobia, fear of public, but like fear of social settings, things like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which I learned to deal with over the years. It's not like I'm
Right.
like
Right.
freaking David Foster Wallace or something, just like going
Sure. Sure.
insane, locked in my room or something. But like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But that's definitely there, and that seeing that would be fine if I was authentically like, oh no, I'm just actually like someone who like really craves like spending 99% of my time alone, and that's
Right.
just who
Right.
I
Right.
am. But
Right.
it's
Right.
not like, because that would then come up and
Sure. Sure.
rub up against like, oh man, I'm like feeling lonely. I
Right.
need connection and I'm feeling lonely. But then there's this other side of me that's like, you need to hide out essentially because I
Right.
didn't feel
Right.
safe in like groups of people, right? For all these,
Absolutely.
whatever
Yeah.
childhood shit and uh,
And
stuff from a few
I
years
think
ago.
that's part of facing the storm, is
Exactly.
fighting those feelings. I get those a lot too. And
Yeah.
I've had this reputation of being, like dropout Jared,
Right.
just
Right.
like, yeah, I'll go with you guys. And then like an hour before, a few hours before, just like, nah, I don't want to go like Albuquerque or whatever. Or I
Right.
don't
Right.
want to
Right.
do this, or nah, I can't do that. Or like, you've had to deal with that with me too. Just like, I'll meet
Totally.
you. Nah, I can't
Yeah.
meet you. Like, when really all I do is like come home and like unhealthily like hang out with Hagrid and watch TV, and like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not something that gives me a result. Like you say, I really like what you
Exactly.
say, and going
Yeah.
back to Mishra freaking uh uh inauthentic, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
my authentic self.
Right.
And I'm the same way. Like I'm very independent soul of my time, etc. But
Totally. Yeah.
to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
anything in excess is not good. And I have been good at times with socializing, that's for sure. Like I will get a lot of friends, and I do have, and hang out and stuff. And I think that's good. I want to keep that up for sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But I'm on the same exact thing with you,
Mm-hmm.
especially when like, come home, chilling, single night, whatever, drink a couple beers, that's my excuse to like, oh, I can't drive. You
Yeah.
know, like
Right.
no, and I'm not drunk or anything, but just like that's my
Yeah, it's
excuse to
convenient.
like
Yeah.
convenient to be like, oh, I had a couple beers, I'm just gonna stay in and like watch freaking Star Trek or something.
Right.
Which is fine, but not freaking like 4 days
Yeah.
a week. It just like it turns into and not even beers, but just like, not doing anything at all. And that's just not good. And I'm
Exactly.
with you.
Yeah.
I think part of that, like I was saying at the end of Benedicto to Benedicto, is it's also about going to the Shire, having a pint with Sam, having a few
Hmm.
hobbits of your own, maybe whatever,
Totally. Yeah.
and getting to the end in the most safest, peaceful way that we can. Building some sort of whatever we want during our lives, and that's a beautiful life for a human. We're freaking. That's the beauty of mortality, right?
Hmm.
But the tragedy, what would be a tragedy, is to waste your mortality, to live inauthentically,
Hmm.
to live a life alone, in a house that becomes your own prison. I
Exactly.
created my own prison, Creed. So hashtag Creed, man.
Creed. Okay, bringing back Creed, bro.
Creed's back, man. They're back on tour soon.
Oh man.
Ah, stop.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, I like that a lot.
yeah. But again, though, it's not going to happen without doing something, taking a
Exactly.
risk, doing
Yeah.
something different that you can't foresee what the result's going to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Exactly, man. And whatever it is, I mean, gosh, it was so crazy. So I'll just tell you about the therapy session because I'm comfortable being open with it. But it was crazy. So for a while,
nice.
I'll tap into this like it's fear. It's just a deep sense of fear. It's also an
Sure.
experience of
Sure.
doom. Like
Yeah.
and I've read about this in like books by psychologists and stuff that if you've had whatever degree of traumatic experience in your life that sometimes that could manifest as like you're convinced that something absolutely horrible is going to happen, right? You're
Right.
just like,
Right.
and that would come up sometimes, not all the time, but like, like I was talking about hanging out in Taos the other week, which overall was like an incredible time. But there were a couple of moments when I'm hanging out, vending at this concert where like I look around and I'm like, and I felt this just like, is this safe? Should I be here? And we
Right.
live in weird times, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
but I think it's my own like trauma shit, like being in, freaking Sister Bar in Albuquerque and a dude got shot, like gangster shit, like got shot right outside Sister Bar when I was in the bar
Sure.
and we
Sure.
went on to lockdown. So now when I'm in like public spaces, I'm like kind of on edge, a little bit scared. I
Right.
make sure I
Right.
know where the closest exit is.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to my therapist about that and I was like, yeah, man, I feel this sense of like impending disaster even though I look around, it seems like a safe place. I'm there with a buddy. He's a safe dude. Like everyone's nice, and it's like, okay, how can I don't want that sense of disaster and fear to like, impede me from connecting with other people.
Right.
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 So the part of the practice, it's called interfamily systems or parts therapy, where you go in and you're just sort of like examining the different parts of yourself, the fear part, the part that wants to succeed, but then the part that wants to self sabotage. You're just sort of like making space to like communicate with these different parts of yourself.
Sure.
So he's like, all right, well, let's call in that fear part. And I'm sitting there and he goes, okay, can you recall it? What's it feel like? What's the sensation behind it? So you're really calling it up. So rather than like being out in public and then that fear starts to come up, it's like, okay, well, let's do it from the safety of my bedroom, talking on Zoom with the therapist and doing it in a safe way where I can process it. Right.
Yeah.
So this fear comes up and I start getting kind of like shaky, because I'm really like trying to tap into it. And it's very uncomfortable. And he's like, okay, try and talk to it, which had never occurred to me. I just assumed that it was like, the world's a scary place and that's it. And he's
Right.
like, we'll talk to it. What's it doing here? Right. Where'd it
Ew.
come from? Right.
That even makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. It's like
yeah,
facing the
exactly, bro.
Bogart and Harry
Mhm.
Potter. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And this thing, it felt like big. It felt like this thing that was bigger than me. I assumed that it was something outside of me that I was like picking up on, that I was just like, the world is unsafe right now, right? And there's so much evidence for that. The world's getting more unsafe, right?
Yeah.
But then through this process, I realized like, wait, no, it's me. Like I'm scared. It's not because the world is scary, it's because I'm scared. Those are two different
Right. Right. Right.
orientations.
Right. Right. Right.
So I'm feeling into it, and then I'm like, okay, where did it come from? All this stuff, and then memories are coming up, memories of getting bullied like crazy, like not good at all, bullied by like my older brother and his friends. They're all high school kids. I was in middle school, and I was like the runt of the pack, and we got fucking abused. It was like they were mean,
Right. Right.
Um, if my brothers are listening, love you guys, but you guys were also mean. Fuck you.
Fucking jerks.
Fucking jerks. We're cool now. It's fine. But like, so all these memories are coming up, right? And it's okay, tap into that. And it turned out like the fear, instead of just being this like terrible fear that was keeping me from connecting with people, turned into, oh, it's trying to keep me safe. This fear is telling me to stay inside or whatever, not go out, or it comes up when, I'm around too many people, because it just wants me to be safe. It's like it's my alarm system saying, "Hey man, you've been in situations like this before with a lot of people around, whatever, and like something bad happened, so maybe we shouldn't be here."
Right. Right.
So it's actually, that fear is actually trying to protect me. It's actually on my side, right? So then it was like, oh, okay, let's talk with it some more, and then you go through the process, and then it turns into more of a conversation, okay, talking to the fear, like, okay, well, what do you need from me? Is there a way that we can find a compromise where, I'm listening to you, and respecting that you're trying to help me, that you're an alarm system, while also satisfying the other pieces of myself that do want to connect more deeply and don't want to be afraid as I'm, walking through the world and all
Right.
that.
Right.
And it was really cool, and it completely changed my orientation toward that part of myself. So it's not 100% gone or something, but it's definitely like way more in perspective. It doesn't feel like something that's like running me, or feel like something that's like the world is just a fucked up place and I need to stay away from it. But now I'm seeing like, no, it's a piece of me that has a function, and that's okay, and we can communicate about that.
Right. Right.
So
If
it
you
felt
see
really
it,
powerful.
if you see it as a spoon, it won't move.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you
it's
realize there
exactly.
is no spoon, freaking,
Yeah,
oh, dude, Matrix.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
yeah,
what it
yeah.
is. Yeah. Yeah. Having perspective on the spoon, if there is no
Yes,
spoon, you can
yeah,
just bend it around in a circle. So
exactly. And
when
I
you,
like the
yeah,
Harry Potter reference too. What was that thing called?
the Bogart, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the
or the
Bogart.
Boggart or whatever. Yeah.
Bogart. Yeah, I think it was the Bogart. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it felt really good, and it was just like, whoa. And like, actually, I'm getting. I mean, also, I'm just kind of restless because I'm up here in the monastery, but like, also feeling this like excitement about like, man, I want to like go hang out, be out in the world, hang out with people, like
Right. Right.
love drawing, love making art, but it's like shit, man, I want to go like do something fun, you know?
No, yeah, that's the thing about being reclusive is all of a sudden you just want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And all these like weird things that you do to feed the fear end up, taking away, like you say, from all the rest of the parts that want to grow and want to, because there's also a thing of conquering fears, which makes you feel good,
Yeah,
and being able to go cliff diving if you're afraid of heights, or being able to, go to the caves and Carlsbad Caverns if you have
exactly, bro.
claustrophobia or whatever the case.
Yeah.
Conquering a fear is also good. That's how
Mm-hmm.
human beings grew. It's funny that you bring that up though, because it's genetic trauma, right?
Partly,
It's
totally, yeah.
throughout history. That's one reason why we're so afraid of the dark, is because we're one of the only mammals that don't have that chemical in our eyes where we can see in the dark, that weird layer.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
when animals have that like weird bluish glow to their
Oh, I
eyes.
wish we had that.
Yeah. And I was watching crazy new episode Y Files. The Neanderthals, you know, they were crazy. Like they could throw a linebacker like across the football field. They're like oryx, like leathery skin covered in fur, big old
What?
jaws, and like a
Oh
lot of their
shit.
grave sites. There's a bunch of human bones. They used to eat us, you know. And at
Oh
one point,
man.
they hunted us to near extinction a few times. One time, there was only like 40 humans left on the planet.
Holy
That's
shit.
why we're the only mammal on the planet or animal that shares such close genetic DNA matches with each other within the species.
Oh,
It's
weird.
because at one point there's only like 12 families left.
Yeah. The
You
12
know,
tribes of Israel.
yeah. And we could see that we couldn't see in the dark, and they, you know, we were constantly afraid. There's
Yeah,
monsters in the dark in the woods. We
totally.
couldn't stray, you know. So our fear over hundreds of years, whatever, thousands of years, you know, really got ingrained. And then we went and lived underground, of course, and
Yeah.
freaking shit happened up on surface, came back up, you know. But all that fear, it comes along with it, you know. It's But then of course, had to conquer that fear, right? And
Right.
then we build lights and this and that, and civilization grows, and the
Yeah.
Galactic Village, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. Bro, and the buffalo too. Like speaking of extinction, I watched the Ken Burns documentary on the buffalo on
yeah, yeah,
PBS. Freaking love PBS.
nice,
Yeah. So around 1900, there got to a point where, yeah, there's like 50 buffalo left.
right,
There used to be tens of millions across the plains. And then it got down to like the tens. There was
right, right.
barely any left. And now it's climbing back up, of
Sure,
course not to where it
sure.
was, but like
Yeah,
that's so crazy to me. I mean, there's something really, really epic about that when you have a species
right.
that gets so fucking close.
I was thinking about it. Imagine being one of the last like 50 humans on the planet. How and if having the knowledge of civilization, I would
Yeah.
wake up depressed every day, I think.
Yeah.
You would have like survivor guilt. Like you would just be like, you know, I don't know. I think it'd be a devastating existence, you know,
Yeah.
for a while. I think, of course, your brain would adapt and you got to, you know, continue the species on. But
Yeah. Yeah. Man. But yeah. Yeah. I think so. So I think my shire is to more concrete things, come back to like spend more time with people. One of my goals for 2024, move back east
yes, yes, nice, nice.
and, get some sort of, career going, whatever that ends up being, just like,
Right,
I
right.
applied to those grad programs. I felt pretty good. Just like, all right, just actually it sucked. I hated it. Freaking applying to
Sure,
shit sucks.
sure.
But just to be on a path, be
Something
on,
you care about. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Be on a path, be on a way to,
Right, right,
yeah,
right. Which is
feel like
good.
I'm moving
Which is
forward.
good.
Yeah.
That's good for, you know, for everyone. It's good for a man to have too, and just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, have your journey and your path. And,
Yeah.
you know, Jesus freaking carpenter, you know,
Yeah,
building tables out
relationship
there.
too, man. I
Yeah,
mean, that's real, I mean, and that's the thing that I learned when I
yeah,
was living in Denver with Ash was um, like if she left for the week, to go visit family, whatever was going on, like I remember there was like 5 days where like she was gone and I didn't see a freaking single soul for like 5 days, right? And I was like,
right, right.
I was in a new city, but so I didn't know anyone,
Sure,
but like here I'd come chill with you, go chill with Eric, whatever,
sure,
but like
sure.
but realizing too, it's like in order to have like a healthy, balanced relationship, you also need you need your family, you need your friends, people who are, you can't put all your eggs in like one basket.
Absolutely.
This
Yeah.
one person is going to like fulfill all my needs. Like, no, of course not. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's not healthy at all. It's not healthy for the relationship, not healthy on a personal level,
Right.
you know, so many different levels. And that's the thing, you know, it's funny what we fear, you know. I fear success in a relationship, I've realized
Right.
too. And
Mm-hmm.
really falling and caring for somebody and then potentially getting hurt again or whatever,
Right.
the time, stop living in fear, back again to the Demeter or whatever. Just start experiencing my life, stop trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out every single freaking step of what
Dude.
it is,
Yeah.
realizing
Love
that
that. Love that.
life is good, and what I can solve is today. And if I solve every day, the larger outlook is gonna look pretty goddamn peachy,
Yeah. Yeah.
And and yeah, I'm with you on that. By the way, how is Gale from Zion? What'd you guys do? Was it fun?
Yeah. No, I had a good time, man. It was cool. Freaking, bro, and it's funny because, like, I feel like we're kind of doing like a therapeutic episode here or something. I
I
feel like we're
think it
going
is.
pretty
I was
deep.
thinking the description's free
The
therapy today. Yeah.
seriously, the Buffalo Storm. So shit, man. I'll just be like totally open with the whole scene.
Let's do it, man.
Okay, so I had that fun weekend in Taos, right? And like,
Right.
I meet the girl who tattoo on her face, girl who gave me a
Yeah,
ring,
yeah.
goth chick. She was
Right.
cool. She lives in Colorado, so I was like, all right, whatever. Not gonna
Right.
hang out, but that's fine. Um, and then I met this other girl in Taos who seemed really, really cool and like super interested in me, but I don't know, felt like she came on a little too strong or something, I don't
Oh,
know. I
right,
could
right.
feel
I
some
remember
like,
that one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I just felt like there was like almost like it was too much, I feel like when a girl's at a bar and like, some dude's coming on too hard, like it almost felt like that sort of experience.
Right, right, right.
So I was kind of like, I don't know. And then I met Gale from Zion, who, I was like, oh man, wow, it's like you lock eyes and you're just like, wow, whoa, that
Right,
spark of
right.
attraction was there, right? Um, so then I text her, right? And then she takes freaking like a day and a half to get back to me. So I assume she ghosted me, and I'm feeling anxiety
Right,
around
right.
it, and it's like, and I was kind of like, man, dude, this sucks. Ash and I were together like a year and a half, so I didn't have to, deal with the whole like awkwardness of 21st century dating, texting, all that stuff for a little while. So I was like, man, this sucks. I forgot. It was like the
Right.
worst. Eventually she gets back to me and then I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's make some plans, maybe this day or whatever. And then freaking like 400 days later, she's like, yeah, that could work. It's like, all right,
Right,
cool.
right.
Whatever. But anyway, so, finally, plans work out and then, met up with her for a hike and up near Taos and like and it was fun, man. I had a really nice time. She was a funny person, cool girl, making each
Yeah,
other
yeah.
laugh. It felt like a solid time. Um After the hike, she asked me, man, like she was like, hey, do you want to go back into town and like, we can just like, get some food or something, like
Nice. Yeah,
extend the
yeah.
hangout.
Extend
And
it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I'm like, yeah, right on, let's do it. So we go into town and then um still I thought we were having a great time, right? And then we're leaving, right?
Oh
And
no.
no, and it wasn't anything terrible, it could just be my own, anxiety coming up. But I was just
Sure,
like, hey,
sure,
I go, this was a great time. I like to be just sort of upfront. I was like,
sure, sure.
I'm not trying to like play it super cool. I don't know, it's not my thing.
Hey, it's just being
Uh,
nice too.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah,
Had a good time.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, hey, this was a great time. Like, what do you think? Hang out again sometime? And she just got like kind of awkward and she's just like, well, I'm like, actually, I'm pretty busy, gotta, spread myself pretty thin, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah. And I go, hey, respect, it's cool, like I had a great time, thanks for hanging out, like it's cool, no pressure. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
and then parted ways. And it was, on one hand I was like, there's that part of me that was like disappointed, whatever, like what the hell, trying to figure out like, wait, we just hung out for like the entire afternoon, like had a really good time. What the
Right,
hell was
right,
that?
right.
Is she just
Ah,
trying to play it cool? What the, and then
devastating. Yeah.
yeah, and then the kind of like, I guess, more mature side of myself is just like, dude, on like, you don't know, like you have no idea, whatever, who
Right,
knows?
right, right.
Like this could have been like a rebound date for that. You have no idea, it's like what
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what someone else is experiencing, what their subjective experience is. So like, don't worry about it.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so that was it. So kind of left it at that. I mean, like I'm doing like a drawing workshop thing at the gallery on
Oh, nice, nice.
Sunday of next week, not tomorrow, so a week from tomorrow. So I just sent her the flyer and I was like, hey, if you and any friends want to come to this thing, it'd be cool, you know, good to see you
Right
again,
on.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, come or don't, but yeah, I don't know. Like I felt myself kind of like slipping into like, oh right, yeah, I experience a lot of anxiety around this sort of
Yeah.
thing. You know,
Yeah. See, that's part of the storm to face. Maybe you can think about it this week as to
exactly,
why.
bro.
I
Just
think
let it
you
come out.
brought that up a couple times too in
Yeah,
our past conversations. Um,
yeah.
and I'm
Let that
with
come
you
out.
too. Like, it's almost like a shame. But
Yeah,
really, I think you brought up a good point. We can't always see it as a self indictment, right? We don't
exactly,
know
exactly.
what the circumstance is. Yeah,
Yeah,
she could literally be dating somebody or something.
yeah. No, yeah. Like we don't
Like you
know.
don't
Like,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And to respect that, you know, like, hey, everyone's got their, you know, freedom of space and whatever they need, you know.
Or maybe just didn't get the vibe, which is completely fine. I've gone on dates with girls. It was completely fine. In fact, the last girl I went on a date with, she picked me up. We went to Lulu's, got some Chinese food. She used to be a
Nice.
cop. I was like, got geeked out, asked her a bunch of cool cop questions, but like, there was just nothing there. It was like hanging out with like a cousin or something.
Right, right. Yeah,
And
sometimes there's just no
she
spark.
had the same thing. She's like, I thought we had a good time. I was like, we did, but just didn't
Right,
really find the connection there. You're really cool, but you
right.
know, good luck. You're freaking awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's that too. It's just, listen, man, it's hard to mix ingredients to make a perfect cupcake. It's,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but I think, again, it's also a nostalgia for the moment. You had a good time with
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't
with the
like
Gale
regret it.
from
Yeah.
Zion. She's hot, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
cool female interaction. Got to live for a while, whatever. And right now you're in a transitionary period anyway. It's
Right,
not like you
exactly.
can date anybody anyway. So like,
No, and that's the thing too. Yeah, respecting where I'm at, where it's like I'm literally like starting tonight for a full 7 or 8 days. Like I'm turning my phone off and I'm gonna be, you know,
right, right, right.
MIA in the Zendo. And it's like, okay, you know, and even like, all right, I have this astrology app, which is actually super accurate. So good.
I have astrology app too for
So good.
years.
Everyone does. I love it. So the pattern told me that like I'm in this, it was from like, I think June of last year or something up until January 21st. So actually tomorrow, that I was in this cycle where I just need to like go inwards and focus on myself. And that if I try to uh, find relationship or anything, I'm going to constantly come up against obstacles because I
Right,
need to
right.
be looking inwards in this moment until January 21st, where I can start to uh, come back out into the light, you know?
Ooh,
And I
ooh.
was like, man, that's pretty cool, actually, you know?
I like that.
And
Yeah,
whether or
that's
not it's
coming up
true, it's
soon.
been a
That's coming up soon.
recommendation. Yeah, it's tomorrow, bro. I'll probably meet
That's
someone
freaking
tomorrow.
tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I can already feel you emerging from the cave, Plato.
Oh, I can't wait to emerge from the cave, bro. I'm like so excited for, I don't know, probably
Listen,
like
man,
March
I,
or
I
something.
this may be presumptive of me or too soon, but like a 1993 movie, 90s movie. I freaking
The
I
fuck
like
songs?
emerged from the cave, man. I don't know what it was. Like I just kind
Yeah.
of like I walked into January 1st a different human being, I'm telling you. And I think
Nice,
the
nice.
transition was happening November, December, but like I was just fed up with a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's time to I don't know, man. It's just I'm out of school now. It's a different life. Freaking
Right.
I'm Dr. Jared now. I need to like fucking
Dr. Jare.
I don't know. I just feel different now. Like
Yeah.
still disoriented leaving the cave. First time I got sunshine, vitamin D.
Right.
But I will find the village. There's a trailhead, and I'm
Totally.
walking down that motherfucker. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not very far. I'm a quarter of the way, just like J to J. But I will find that freaking sun. The storm
Okay.
will end sooner than a lot of other people too, or me. A lot of other Jareds that are in the multiverse.
Oh
Brian's.
yeah. Yes. I kind of, I feel that. I feel like I like that metaphor of like you found the trailhead, and I feel that
Yes,
similarly
yes.
too. I don't feel like going back in time like a year or two, it was like I had no idea where the fucking trail
Same,
was.
man. Same.
It was like talking about the bog, bro. It was like middle
Lost.
of the
Straight up
bog,
lost. Yeah.
totally fucking lost. Like, what is going on? But now it's like, yeah, okay, things are, it's like life. Things get messy sometimes, but there's a trail and I can see it and I'm on the trail and I even have a map and like generally know where it's going and that like it's like okay, cool.
Right, right.
You know.
Yeah, I was with you too on that. Just like
Yeah.
really like lost and wandering and
That's
like,
Dante, bro.
yeah.
Dante's Inferno, it starts off with him saying like I awoke to find myself lost in a dark wood at the age of 35.
Oh,
Actually. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Like,
and then he gets and then the whole thing is him going
at
through
the
it.
age of 35, really. Wow. Me and
Yeah, yeah,
Dante
Dante's
awoke at the
Dante's
same
Inferno.
year.
He's
Me and
35.
Dante.
Yeah.
Wow. Just turned 36. I'm freaking on the way.
Yeah, bro. I think there's these like plot points in a human being's life. I think there's plot points like in astrology, you get like the Saturn returns when you're 29, 30, Dante's Inferno, 35. I think there's these like plot points where you seem to
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
yourself in a and then there's like the midlife crisis thing a little bit later. It's like
Sure. Sure.
yeah, there's plot points where we are forced to look inwards, reassess, which path are we on? Is it the right one? All that stuff.
Yeah, there's these major like fork in the roads, and you just kind of like sitting there like smoking a pipe with Gandalf, and then he's like, "It's that way because the smell's not nearly as foul." Freaking, and he just
Whoa. Oh,
right.
dude, that's a great decision making kind of process. It's that way because the smell's not near. Like, yeah, duh, just like go that way.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
Yeah, man. I
great.
guess I never really thought about that completely. That quote until
Yeah,
now.
no, that's like that. All
Gandalf
that is
figured it
intuitive
out.
decision making.
Right, right,
Gandalf is the fucking wizard, bro. It's like he's the shaman, man. It's all about
right.
intuition, intuitive decision making. Go that way. It smells better.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
It's the Forrest Gump thing too. It's
Yeah.
just life is really simple.
Yeah.
It's just we complicate the fuck out of it, and we put ourselves so deep in the cave
Yeah.
that sometimes we tragically can never leave, or we die in the cave, or
Yeah.
a sense of ourself does. And I don't ever want that to happen, man. I want to be healthy. I want to be feeling good, looking good, in a good relationship, and like a good place. I like my job, whatever. Excel in that. Do good with the students, etc. And fucking,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know, be in a spot when I am 50 something and I feel good and like still like going on vacation with old Dolly and
Yeah.
Hagrid
Yeah.
the Third's running around and you know
Back in the third.
to just be happy and say that we did it, in some way we did it our way.
Yeah.
And it's of course not everything is not trying to find ultimate happiness either. It's about being able to face the storms when they come. There's
Yeah.
not only one storm. The storm, we live in free on planet Earth. We have weather cycles, so I
Yeah.
think, but when they do come, you know exactly where the sunshine is at. It's that way. You head towards it, you face it, and you get done with it, and you continue on your beautiful buffalo sunrise, grazing, eating wheat.
Gandalf, bro. Yeah.
And yeah, this girl the other day messaged me, a girl I really liked in the past, and then kind of messed up just for my, I don't know what, hadn't been thinking clearly past year or so, I think. And she hit me up, no boyfriend, come to Boxcar, the bar right away. And I was asleep, of course. I'm an old man. CBS Sunday morning. I was asleep, by 9 p.m. I think you're on mute, by the way. Um,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Uh, I can hear you there.
Oh, okay.
And the next day, I was like pretty excited about it, you know, a little bit, just like cool, whatever. So I messaged her, just like, hey, you know, sorry, I was asleep, whatever. She's like, oh, sorry, I was just like drunk tequila, you know, just like, never mind. And I like asked her if she was good or whatever. But then, you know, just later is just kind of like soul crushing. It's like, oh, cool. Well, that sucks. Just like, well, she was just drunk, you know, and like,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's also a reflection of who I've let in my life the past few
Yes.
years.
Yeah.
And it was a reflection of the old Jared that died on December
Yeah.
31st, January 1st at 12:01 p.m.
Yeah.
And, you know, uh again, it's a mirror I don't want to look at anymore, you know.
Right.
Moving on from unhealthy situations, unhealthy people,
Yeah.
partying people, all that stuff, you know.
Mm.
I need to find my Princess Jasmine out there. I'm ready to, like, you know, go on a real magic carpet ride with somebody that, you know, cares about me and cares about themselves, you know.
Yeah, bro. And to open up to
Because I
the
care about myself finally.
exactly. Finally, there you go. Whole new world, you know, and you got to open to a new world
It's
because
a
if you're
whole new
constantly clinging,
world.
constantly clinging to the old world, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
See, and that's the thing. I really like that framing because like freaking Pittsburgh Nelly, you know, at the boxcar hitting you up all
Right.
drunk.
Right.
Oh, you
Right.
want to hang out? Like that's
Yeah.
old world, right? That's like a
Yes.
reflection.
Yes.
That's a reflection, and the world does this, like because the world is constantly reflecting to you, you know, who you are and what you're doing and all that. So it's like that's like an old world reflection, you know. Now you want a new world reflection. You want like the updated, you know, the updated like operating system, freaking, you know, Mac 15.9 or something. You know, you got to update it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. Um, and like I think you brought that up a few episodes ago, is kind of just like learning your processor, your
Right.
brain, you know, just kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
becoming like the guru of your own software, you know.
Right. Because that's
And
the thing. Because we're always sending out messages, right? Because like, can I use this as an example? Girl from Boxcar hitting you up.
sure, sure.
So like, okay, let's say, you know, I don't even know who it is, right? But you know, the history of of your experience with this person, something about your history with this person led them to think like, oh, if I want like a drunk booty call, like Jared's the one to hit up, right?
Right,
That
right,
was like their experience of you or their impression of you, whatever. So then they responded to that impression, you know, but
right,
then they sent out that message, not realizing that that message was actually going to, you know, Jared 2.0 or whatever instead of, you know,
right,
Jared
right,
1.0. So it's like, but the world is still sending, and this is karma too. You know, the world is like sending messages based on like the seeds that you planted from 2 years ago or something like that, you know?
right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, Not to go back into cliches or old lines or whatever, but you reap what you sow, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus
Exactly.
speaking, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just
We're
like
back on Jesus.
back to, you know, me and Dion's old analogy of being a farmer, you know, the
Yeah.
seeds that we plant, what are the seeds, what kind of fruit are you going to get, you know? And this
Yeah.
is, you know, socially intimate relationships, all this stuff, because, you know, things don't grow immediately oftentimes,
Right.
and what we plant is what we're going to sow, essentially, you know. Hashtag
Yeah.
Jesus. So,
Hashtag Jesus. Love that dude.
love him. Jesus needs to bless this pod so the algorithm explodes.
I
That's
know,
all I'm
dude. I
saying.
know. I
If
know.
he's listening, of course he's listening, loves this pod, but
Yeah. He
we
always
need you,
listens.
Jesus. We need you.
Daniel Day Jesus.
Forrest Gump style, start praying for shrimp, you know, start praying for listeners.
Yeah. You know what? Like, you know, I was thinking too, like during this episode, because this episode's been more reflective.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, the Buffalo Storm. Can we call it the Buffalo Storm?
Let's call it the Buffalo Storm. And plus, I don't know what it is, man. Like before this episode, I was feeling a little anxious, a little depressed, just sort of
Yeah.
facing the snow. The storm broke after
Good.
this episode a little bit. You know, I
Good.
can hear
Good.
some birds, and the sun's out. The sun's out again.
Hell yeah. Good. You know, I think too, like I was just considering like social media too, because like comparison is the thief of joy.
Right, right.
Where it's like, man, I think because I get bored here, I do get bored. I'm not like, I'm hanging out with like Roshi or, it's like I freaking get bored. So it's like, I definitely spend like a little too much time on social media, just like scrolling through Instagram. And it's
Sure,
like,
sure.
I think that it makes my brain start to compare itself to like my measure of success is so fucking wildly out of control. Cause it's like, I'm sitting there looking at like, famous and wealthy artists and thinking that that's like normal, that that's like the
Right, right,
standard, you know,
right.
and
Yeah,
that because I'm not like, because I don't have like, you know, a million people following my work or something like that, I'm not succeeding. And it's like, dude, that's man, social media, I think has really wrecked our standard of success, and so,
yes,
and
and this
and a sense
these
of self satisfaction.
it's reasons like this where we lose sight of our own peace.
Exactly. Whereas if I'm hanging out with like
Yeah,
my buddy, if I'm hanging out with you, hanging out with like
sure.
friends back east, whoever, it's like freaking, we're all pretty normal dudes. Like no one's like, no one's like the a CEO who got their first million at 25 or some
Right,
shit.
right,
It's like we're all pretty normal guys with like normal existences, and that's like fine. That's like actually
right.
pretty okay. Like we're all like healthy, and it's fine.
And even if you are the CEO that made million early on, you probably got more problems than we do, So continue
In some
listening,
cases, yeah, totally.
follow us to the village because that's where the trailhead says this way to the galactic village,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
galactic observatory
yeah.
yonder. So um I think it's and again, and like what years, that's what I wanted to say. Has anything ever in the history of man ever been so misnamed, so ironically named than social media? It
Oh,
should be
yeah,
called
totally.
anti-social media,
Yes, yeah,
because it puts us in these boxes, even of our own minds and our own selves.
yeah, totally.
I have a lot of friends on this and that, whatever. I see them posting pictures of the relationships, old girlfriends, like, freaking changing their last names to the person they just married or whatever. It's devastating. And
Mm,
who knows? They say the more you post as a couple, the worse your relationship is statistically, in real life.
right.
But that's not what the brain processes. So
No, the brain processes that, and see, because I mean, our brain does compare, and dude, same thing as the fear thing in my therapy session, where it's like, okay, well, how is it trying to help you? What's up with that? Let's not demonize it, but say, okay, what's going on with that part of you? Okay, that comparing part of our brains, that's actually like that's a protective mechanism, right? Because that's like, all right, I'm hanging out with the village, right? In a healthy society, I'm hanging out in person with the society, and me and my peer group are kind of like checking each other, sometimes not healthily so, because people can bog each other down, but also healthily so, where it's like, oh, okay, cool, like um my friend just like leveled up a notch in his career, and that's really cool, and maybe I should do the same or something like that, like comparing, but in like a kind of healthier way, like a healthy competition and healthy comparison kind of way, or
right,
checking in and being like, okay, this is normal behavior and that's not normal behavior, and this is healthy behavior and that's not, like our analytical comparative brain is actually like pretty useful, but then it gets corrupted, I think, with social media, because rather than spending time with like people who actually exist, you're just like looking at these hyper idealized images.
right,
And
right,
then it's like, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm the only one who feels sad sometimes. Look at
right,
everyone. Everyone's on vacation in Aruba except for me. It's like, what the fuck?
right, right.
Crazy.
Everybody's so fucking in love. God
Yeah,
damn
everyone,
it. Yeah.
like the reality that social media presents is one where everyone except you is deeply in love with like a
Right.
beautiful partner,
Has
right?
lots of money, is in
Has
deeply in
lots of
love, has
money.
great friends.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
goes on amazing trips constantly. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
you know,
And that's just not the case.
not at all, bro.
And again, back to the flip phone, I don't know. I'm really thinking the only reason I keep Facebook nowadays is so they don't delete my Age of Empires city. I love that city. But a lot of them, I don't know. It's just there's good things about it being connected to the village, and there's a lot of bad things about it too. And I think it's going back to a lot of things we've said throughout this entire podcast, 25 episodes, is it's being the yin and the yang, nothing in excess,
Yeah.
and like we're saying, realizing that there is no spoon. Like there's a spoon there, but there's no spoon. These
Yeah.
are all just signs and this and that, and I don't know. It's it. Don't spend your whole entire life scrolling. I do too often as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, you don't necessarily have to delete everything either. Occasionally, whatever, that's cool. Laugh at some reels, with some friends, but other than that, go outside, go for a walk, like,
Yeah.
take your Hagrid for a walk, or do something creative. Like you said, I've been writing a lot, and,
Oh, good.
you know, paint a book, paint, paint a book, paint something, or, whatever, like do something constructive.
Yeah.
And, and then it's fine, it's fine to check out whatever,
Right.
technology.
Right.
So,
Bro, and even like the great sages of old, right? Whether in like, Saint Francis, freaking Christian mystic, like awakened dude, or like the Zen guys, whoever, freaking Buddha, like in all of these stories, all these great sages, some historical, some apocryphal, they always had like a pretty healthy balance with leaving the society and coming back into the society, where they would dip out for like a month in order to go like meditate in the woods and like get some space so that they can like zoom out really far and like get connected with God, get connected with nature, all of that. But then they would come back into the society either to teach or because they were just kind of bored and wanted to go see some people or whatever it was. But that was the whole thing. Like that, the visionary figure would like leave for a while and come back, or like the vision quest kind of thing. You leave for a while, learn what you need, and then come back. Whereas I feel
okay.
like in our society, we've done this thing where we like have made being alone, especially for men, being alone this like mysterious, cool thing. It's like, oh, he's such a dark loner. He's so poetic. And it's like, no, dude, he's just fucking lonely. So
Right,
rather than like leaving to go on your vision quest and coming back in, we just left.
right, right,
And now we're
right,
just like, yeah, that vision quest was cool, but like, what the fuck's going on? Now I'm like, what the hell? Like, I've gone too deep into the vision quest. Like, where am I?
right,
What the hell's
right,
going on?
right.
I'm talking to like that freaking, I'm hallucinating elves and talking to them in the woods rather than like hanging out with my friends.
It's Odysseus, right? You
Yeah.
end up, yeah, getting called in by the sirens, and or eating the lotus flower,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
losing
exactly.
your memory, and just sort of fucking just like, oh my god, what the hell happened.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a pandemic among men. We're killing ourselves. Depression's at an all-time high,
Mm,
loneliness, singleness, relation, all this stuff, because it's all convoluted right now.
yeah. Yeah.
We've lost sight of the trailhead. you know
Yeah.
and I think that even though you think the storm is so wild and bad out there, you don't want to leave the cave. You got your fire going, and you're roasting marshmallows in the cave, and sure, you eat some lizards and whatever. And, there's just Ernie Bob's there with his pint of beer, that he makes deep in the cave. But really, everybody's driving you mad. You're driving yourself mad. You got to get out of there. You got to see the sunshine. You got to be a human being again. And really, all you got to do is put on, your blanket and jacket, and fucking face the storm, face the snow for a while, and
Yeah.
the sun will, you'll find the sun again. You know.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you this dude. He's like a YouTube social media guy, but His name's Connor Beaton, and he started this thing called Man Talks, and it's pretty good because his whole shtick is that he's like, if you look at exactly what you were just saying, if you look at all like the statistics and stuff, like men are not in a good healthy position right now. He goes like, rates of depression, suicide, unemployment, even college
Right.
education, fewer and fewer and fewer men are getting themselves
Yes.
college educated,
Yes.
right? So this dude who's um he went really deep on like Carl Jung and like Jungian analysis and psychology and stuff. So he kind of like uses that as like a lens to look at, what seems like a crisis of manhood essentially, and he's
Right.
constantly kind of breaking down just like, okay, well, why is this happening? What's going on? How can men, especially young men who feel lost, kind of get back on track? And it's pretty good. He does like a pretty good job. Some of it's like pretty useful and educational, but mostly I think it's good at just like pointing out an issue, saying yeah, we're not in a good space right now, and how can he's like a rebuild the village kind of guy, but specifically with like men's mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. What is his diagnosis?
I don't know. I'd probably have to go like relook at some of his stuff to know his actual diagnosis. But I mean, one of the things he says is that he thinks that like masculinity, it's like has been kind of demonized, which is maybe
Right.
an unpopular thing to say, but it's um like beyond the point where it's just like, okay, does toxic masculinity exist? Like, yes, it definitely does. That's out there, machismo shit, whatever, domestic abuse, all that stuff, not okay, obviously, right?
Right.
But then he thinks that, okay, we've taken
Is
this
all
narrative,
masculinity toxic?
yeah, where we've kind of bifurcated it, where it's like we either have just masculinity itself is like a toxic thing, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and actually we need to like men need to like only get in touch with their feminine side, which you hear a lot, which I do think is an important thing, but it's only one step in the process of becoming whole, you
Right.
know. So he's kind of like, okay, yeah, like, you need to like reassess your relationship to masculinity, yes, but should, masculinity itself be demonized as something like violent and all of that? He's like, well, no, it's something to also celebrate. There is something there that the society needs.
Right. And I
Yeah,
think a big part of losing touch with the, evolutionary, healthy masculinity
yeah,
is, not meant to not have a trailhead, not meant to not have, a task and a job and something to look forward to and accomplish,
mm-hmm.
an art piece to work on, or a family to be with, or to love, or to be loved, or friends to have pints with at the
Yeah,
local, Shire freaking brewery, or whatever the case. Um, being alone, isolated, freaking in bad economical standing, freaking demonizing like relationships, and being single incels, all this stuff. Well, shit, man, there's nothing left.
mm-hmm.
What's
Yeah.
left is just a lost, animal in the woods that's soon going to be devoured by Neanderthals. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so much too, part of his diagnosis is like it's cultural, it is like the isolation thing, the social media thing. I mean, even if you look at like 20th century depictions of manhood, Ernest Hemingway, this just like, I mean, romanticizing alcoholism, all this
Right,
stuff.
right, right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, I don't know, man. I think galactic masculinity is gonna be the new trailhead. David
ultimately,
Data. David Data.
bro, even in like David Data, love that dude.
Love David Data.
Even my own experience with this gallery in Taos, which is an awesome place. I love it. It's freaking amazing. They did the first show they did was it was called, not the first, but the first that I was aware of. Um, the show previous to the one that my work's in. It was called the Feminine Mystics show, right? And then I'm talking to the girl who runs the gallery, as she's planning out the next one. And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking of doing like a masculine mystics kind of show, to kind of, balance that out.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
then, which she ultimately, she ends up calling it Subtle Expansions, which is also a really cool title.
Right.
But then when we were talking, she expressed to me, she was like, yeah, I'm not sure if like a masculine show would be like celebrated, she like, it sounded like, like, oh, would that be seen as, I don't know, like, oh, they're putting on like man's art or masculine art. Are they sexist? Are they Trump people? Are they,
Right.
all that
Right.
shit,
Right.
right? But then
Yeah.
but then if you put on like the feminine mystic show, it's like, oh, they're embodying the mother goddess and the
Right. Right.
feminine and ayahuasca and all that shit. But then if we're gonna do the masculine side of that, it's like, oh no, you can't do that because that's gonna get us canceled or something.
Right. Right. Yeah, we got to start celebrating the wizard again, the
Yeah, just
Gandalf,
both,
the Jesus, and
just
both,
to have the expression of both of all things.
Yeah, Mary and Lady Galadriel, and
Yeah.
Gandalf and everyone, really.
The whole crew.
On behalf of the Jareds, thank you for listening. Follow and tell your friends about the show. The Jareds will be back next week, and always remember, you do not always have to figure out your life. Just start experiencing your life, and then maybe you will live with less regrets. Stay tuned.